Like, maybe he's just a sociopath. Just doesn't even understand, like, what he's doing.
Did you see those like super high potency Adderall patches? You can't eat meat on them?
I don't know if she's going to play a huge victim card. Just knowing what I know about the criminal justice system, she'll be testifying against him in court.
So what do you think's going to happen?
I think he gets life.
You think he gets life?
I think he gets life.
This guy is just sort of like a nobody coming in on some really risky industry.
The government can say, listen, you want to go to jail for 30 years? Do you want to take that stand for 30 minutes?
Right.
One is a lot easier choice than the other for most people.
I have a friend who lost $100 million in this whole thing, so it's really...
Whoa, $100 million?
Yeah, he was one of FTX's biggest customers.
I had an FTX account.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, I'm also sorry to hear that.
What was your position on crypto?
I'm a crypto person. I mean,
Crypto is software at the end of the day. And one of the things about software is that software is for nerds. And software is for people who like to stare at a computer screen all day, like me.
Yep.
If your best friend is Python instead of real person, then software is your kind of thing. And the problem is that
for 99% of people, that shouldn't be kind of the case, right? Like they should have normal lives and just, worry about that. But for people like me or people who love to program, this is their life. And crypto is just an extension of software at the end of the day. Like, this is not the biggest revolution of all time. Software as a whole is a really important revolution.
When really sophisticated, great heroes of software made things like the NoSQL database versus the SQL database, that was like a profound change in the way databases work.
These are like fairly esoteric things. Like the idea of a zero knowledge proof is a crypto concept. A distributed ledger technology is a crypto concept. And like forcing this stuff to the mainstream and forcing people to consume it was probably a huge mistake.
It's sort of like the internet in 2000. We're going to have this overhype period that it's going to change everybody's lives in ways that we won't even notice, right? We don't even think about the internet anymore as like something that's abstract or has changed our lives. It's just embedded within us, right?
So what do you think about all this FTX stuff? Do you believe the real conspiracy? Have you seen what a lot of like the crazy conspiracies being floated around him and that he's like a CIA plant?
Yeah, I mean, so the funny thing about conspiracy theories is the truth is often stranger than fiction. And the truth here is that is already one of the most fascinating stories of all time. So, making it even crazier is so stupid. To me, like, the politics side of it, I think everybody's getting wrong. This guy was not a power player in DC. It takes decades to become a power player in DC. And especially when you're waltzing in on some weird thing. Like, if your last name is, Mellon or something like that, right? And your family's had money for 100 years, that's one thing. But this guy is just sort of like a nobody coming in on some really risky industry, crypto. So like if I'm a politician, let's say I'm a senator who's been there 6 terms, I'm looking at this kid and saying, listen, I'll take his money, but I don't know if this guy's going to be here in 4 years or 6 years. I don't know if this guy's going to, I don't know anything about crypto. Like, I'll wait and see here. I really don't think these conspiracies are real. I think it's just silly. The reality is crazy, right?
Did he just leverage traded all of the money away in like Alameda, basically?
Yeah, how crazy is that? I think that's what happened.
There's some evidence to this. One of the guys that was the CEO of Alameda before Miss America took over, my future wife, Carolyn. I don't know if you're
familiar with her.
Yeah, you Miss America? Yeah.
Yes, she's something else.
She is something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she'll be testifying against him in court. I don't know if she's going to play a huge victim card, but I think just knowing what I know about the criminal justice system, like, I really hate to typecast women here because there are some women that won't do this, but
yes,
the women tend to take the stand pretty quickly.
The government can say, listen, you want to go to jail for 30 years? Do you want to take that stand for 30 minutes?
Right.
One is a lot easier choice than the other for most people.
Yeah, and it's probably pretty easy when you're not in that position to be like, yeah, I would never do that. And then they're like, how about this? And
exactly.
I met hundreds of people in prison that said that, and the few people that said that they had too much pride to do that or whatever, they inevitably got 25 or 30 years. And in the criminal world, there are consequences to becoming a rat. In the civilian world, to Carolyn Ellison, there are no consequences. Nobody's going to do a drive-by and have revenge on her if she takes the stand. Although who knows with this creepy cult. Like I said, why conjure a conspiracy theory? This is hilarious. They're taking drugs. They're.
Do Did you see those like super high potency Adderall patches? You can't eat meat on them.
And they have their own thing. So there's this EA, effective altruism.
Yeah,
thing.
that's their whole thing, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of like a cult.
I think the craziest thing that he's doing is just like the tweeting and like the weird that he's doing now. I think he still thinks like he can make this right, or like, dude, it's over. Like, there's nothing you can do. Like, the best thing you can do, given your track record of things up, is actually to take a breather, man. Like, go, you know, do something else. Like this, nobody's
been a bigger up in terms of like money and speed.
No,
not even close. Like, if you look at Lehman Brothers or like Bear Stearns or any of these other things, like the people at Lehman and Bear, listen, this is what we did. This is why we did it. We thought we were smart and we were wrong. This guy like doesn't understand what he did was wrong. And it's so disingenuous. Like, it really is somewhere between Madoff. Like, Madoff was like a cunning person, whereas Sam is like, you can't tell if he was cunning or stupid. Like, for all the MIT education, like, I wonder if like it's a neuroatypical thing where he's like, maybe not that, you know, not all there in some ways. He comes off as intelligent in lots of places, so it's hard for me to, like, maybe he's just a sociopath. Like, I think a lot of people are saying that now, you know, just doesn't even understand, like, what he's doing. Because, like, he also said in that New York Times article that he's sleeping well, and like that. Like, what the f***, dude? Why would you say?
It's unfortunate because it's really putting a black eye on what's a pretty promising technology. And a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. So or have lost a lot of money.
I have a friend who lost $100 million in this whole thing. So it's really.
Whoa, 100 million?
Yeah, he was one of FTX's biggest customers, and
I don't know if he's going to get 5 or 10 of that back. That'll be 10 years from now. You know?
Exactly.
So,
the bigger question here is like, when does he get arrested? Does he cop a plea? How much time does he get? Like, to me, that's the most interesting stuff. And like, can we get any transparency into what happened? Because usually these things are like a little private with discovery and the whole like judicial system. Like, some things leak out into the documents, but a lot of things don't. And it'd be really fun to see some emails or some.
Because one of the conspiracies is they're like, Joe Biden announces this is the crazy conspiracy people are like, Joe Biden announces he's running for president, and then like a week later, FTX is founded, and everybody's like, where did he get all this money from? These are all the people who are saying that he's essentially funneling money into, because he's the second biggest donor to the Democratic Party behind George Soros.
Yeah, to me, that's crazy.
It's just nonsense. Like, ultimately.
Yeah, it's just nonsense.
So what do you think's going to happen? What is your prediction if you had
I think he gets life.
You think he gets life?
I think he gets life.
It depends on how many people you've hurt. If you hurt thousands of people and people who needed that money, you know, you really are. The courts look at that much, much worse than if you hurt 5 people who are billionaires, right? Like, that's like
As
okay,
they should.
right? It's like, listen, most people are smart enough to figure out, you know, supposed to be smart enough to figure this all out. Whereas the person that has $5,000 in FTX or $10,000 or 25,000 that they were saving, they thought crypto would be a good thing to diversify with, or who knows what, and you just rob them. I mean, that's something that, and there's 50,000, 100,000, maybe even 1 million people like that. I normally say that financial crime should not be as punished as heavily as it is, because it's not a crime of violence, it's a paper crime. You know, a lot of this stuff is technicalities, like, well, did you use this accounting system or that accounting system? But in this case, I make the exception where it's like, no, you really do have a huge scale of pain that's being caused here. That's unprecedented, really.
I mean, you'd have to think there's going to be some suicides from this, generally, stuff like this, right? So it's like, it's almost not, you know, a crime. There is an argument to be made that it's a crime of.
Absolutely. And, you know, when at the end of a trial, when it comes time for the judge to sentence, typically what happens is the victims read.
The victims get to sort of have their day in the sun and explain what happened and how they were affected. And so usually that's a pretty dramatic and, you know, really cathartic experience for the victims. And it impacts the judge's sentencing. And if you remember Larry Nassar's,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, like, so that was an example. It was so painful and so like visceral that, like, you know, when that happened, he got 150 years for, you know, a crime that was really horrible. But, like, you know, the victim impact here is going to be, I mean, amongst the most catastrophic victim impacts ever, you know, sort of, you know, done.
So I've been scammed. had a startup software company that, was a really big deal to me. And there was a woman named 𝗟𝗏𝗏 who decided that she wanted to invest in my company.
She told me she was going to invest $300,000. And we waited and waited and waited for this $300,000, and it never came. And basically, she didn't scam me in a bad way. A lot of investors, will invest and then they won't. Then they'll decide that they're not investing. That happens all the time. But that was sort of my most recent scam. If you don't count somebody getting a candy bar for me in prison and not paying me. Thanks, Danny. Great talking to you, bro.
Bye.